Oh, welcome to the mat, everyone. Well done. If you don't have anything handy already, please grab something that would allow you to sit upright and comfortably in the spine. Also have an ottoman or a chair or something that you might be able to put one foot up on, because we're going to do some very intentional stretching into low back and hips as well as shoulders before we go into some of our flow tonight. So my hope is that we'll feel a little more like the Tin Man who got oiled and that we can really enjoy that feeling of what we call really a moving meditation on breath. And that's how flow is meant to feel. This is what I consider kind of a flow class that I like to do. And I like to point out that if we are doing flow and sacrificing breath, that's not yoga. We might be making these yogic shapes, but we aren't getting the experience of yoga, which is wholeness. It's wholeness, this wonderful connection of body, mind, and spirit that the breath itself brings us into more than anything. So in fact, at any point in tonight's practice, if something is just feeling not right or too much, please adjust it. That is your job always as you listen inward. So tonight we're in fact starting with a yogic value called swadhyaya that is basically self-observation. And that of course requires a lot of listening inward. And as you are listening to me talk about this, you might even start to tune in by closing your eyes towards your third eye point. And you could lightly connect the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth behind the front teeth. And begin to observe the presence of breath rising up the spine and settling back towards the earth. So self-observation requires a deep listening inward, swadhyaya, that is very difficult to practice when there's often so much going on out there that's saying, look at me, listen to me, take care of me, do this now, etc. So it has to be like a muscle that we strengthen. One of the greatest rewards in the 20 years or so that I've been teaching is to have people over and over again acknowledge that at some point, just by returning to their breath over and over in their practice, by observing what is happening in their body, what part of their body maybe needs attention, that they realize they've developed a better, deeper relationship with their body. That it wasn't obvious as they were going along. It was just all of a sudden at one point going, I'm somewhere new in integrity and honor and wholeness with my body. I hope that you might even be able to recognize some of that already. But also this practice will support that. So as you tune in, again, that inner gaze, take your attention deeper by asking, what do I see behind my eyelids? What's there? Colors, darkness, points of light. And you might ask yourself, is this the first time today that I have paused and turned my attention inward? Nothing else to know, do, or accomplish. Again, light connection of the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth. Invite the rest of the mouth, the jaw, the cheeks, the base of the tongue to soften. This takes us into non-striving. Observe, where has that tongue been much of the day? Has it been sandwiched against the roof of the mouth? Has your jaw been tight or clenched as you've been pushing things forward? Take your attention also to the base of the neck skull and just give a little weeble wobble, as I call it, of the head. You might make some full circles or just kind of go side to side, but invite a softening there. And inviting you now to add ujjayi. Contract the throat just a little bit, and as your breath passes through, making that whooshing sound. Wind, ocean waves. If this is fairly new to you, it might feel awkward or challenging. Give it a try for at least a few rounds, and then you're welcome to let it go or keep it going your whole practice. And now please bring your hands together. And I'm going to ask you to first just rub the palms together. Create some heat there. Our hands are powerful energy centers. For those of you interested in chakras, you'll be interested to know there are energy centers in our hands. And so you're heating up your energy centers, waking them up from whatever dullness they might have had from the day. Keep breathing, watching that breath rise slowly up the spine. Breathing through the nose, and on the exhale, sighing breath. Again, twice more, inhaling. Is there more? Exhaling, sighing breath. Maybe you observe some heat in your shoulders. If it's pain or just too much, let go of the hand movement. One last round. And with that sighing breath, please place your hands on your body, perhaps abdomen, chest, perhaps one on each. Witness the gentle movement of breath in the body. It's a powerful recognition that when we breathe, we are getting massaged from the inside. It's one of our most powerful tools for releasing pain and stagnation. It's not through force, it's through the inevitable workings of the breath upon our material. Good. Final last 3 rounds, just coming into breath awareness, the rising and settling, and find the gap or pause between. Notice if the mind wanders. Observe that habit. Bring the attention back to breath again. One more. This is a beautiful moment to observe what it was like for you to get here to the mat, what your movement through the world has been like today so far. Also asking you to notice what kinds of anticipation you have for the rest of the hours before sleep. Do you look forward to them? Do you feel weary and like it's too much? This honesty, this clarity with self, this knowing our own material is so powerful, and it really changes everything. So thank you, your own wisdom, your own good heart, and for getting to the mat. We're going to come off our object of support, and first just extend those legs out in front and give them kind of a pumping, thumping. If you've been sitting a lot, I'm hoping this practice will feel so good to you. We're going to take those legs out in a straddle. If you can't sit upright, even when the legs are wide, then you might tuck something under the butt again. Otherwise, we're just going to start a slow movement side to side. Your hands can be on your thighs, or you can take them to the floor as you go. Just asking you to kind of hinge forward at the hips, breathing. The movement and the breath do not have to coordinate. Breath is slow, deep, and wide. And flexing your feet firmly now. Notice what that adds. And the next time you are to the right, plant your right hand down on the floor and firmly reach up through the left arm. Exhaling, plant the left hand and firmly reach up through the right. You might follow it with your gaze if it doesn't bother your neck. And continue. Exhaling, plant right hand. Inhaling, reach left. Exhaling, plant that hand. And inhaling, reach with the other. Couple more. in training breath to initiate movement. So holding your position, asking, is there more? Is there more inhale? Is there more exhale? And the next time you are right hand down, left arm up, go ahead and rotate your chest towards the leg and just getting a side body stretch, I hope, down into that kind of left rib and waistline. You might move your head a little organically, inviting releases through the neck. And slowly make your way to the other side. Left hand plants, inhaling right hand up and rotating the chest towards the left thigh or floor. Always inviting breath to influence the body. We want to become like an object bobbing on the waves. And releasing to center. Go ahead and bring those legs on in. We're going to come up to standing, however you'd like to do that. So going to your object of support of an ottoman or a chair, please take your right foot up. And I've got my hands on my hips because it just reminds me to be aware of that area. It gives me a little support. I just want to lunge my hips forward and pulse out of it a little bit. And you may find as you go, oh, I can take that foot a little further away and enjoy the depth. See what you think. Breathing slow, deep, and wide. There's nowhere to get to. There's all kinds of great places that we're going to travel together. But no goals. We did it. We got here. Pause with your hips forward and reach up through the left arm. Deep abdominal breath. Press the breath down into that lower belly. Really encourage a stretch there. And releasing. Hands on hips. Flex that right foot and gently fold forward. I'm hinging, sending my lower abdomen towards the thigh. I'm not folding and draping, just pulsing there. And then I'm going to rotate my foot right and left. And for many of us, this might bring a stretch into that quadricep area, kind of outer leg, into the hip. And release. Nice. Let's take the left foot up. Hip bones steering forward. A little bit of core connection already. Don't worry, we'll do some core strengthening. So if that part of you is not feeling very awake today, we will wake it up. But just again, your own awareness can often get those muscles to participate. Again, scooching that foot forward a little bit more as needed to get the best stretch. When you're there at that edge, send the arm up, right arm up. Deep belly breath pressing into that low abdomen. Softness in the tongue, softness in the gaze. And returning hands to hips, left foot flex, and slowly hinging the low abdomen towards the thigh. If you're ever feeling any pulling behind either knee, create a slight bend in that leg or both. And on that left foot, flexing, begin to wave it left and right, moving the stretch. Maybe you want to hold it. Maybe you hold it to the outside and notice what's happening there and invite some tension to dissolve with your breath. And releasing. Nice. And we'll come back to our mat. You might just do a little bit of hip circling, or you can even do a kind of standing hip pump, pressing the pelvis forward, big glute squeeze, and releasing. This is a lot like what bridge pose gives us in a standing version. Okay, we're going to do some arm and shoulder love up, as I mentioned. So some of you may be familiar with cow facing pose. It's called, kind of a funny name, but it involves one arm up and over and one arm kind of down and behind. Instead of just going right to the pose, I'd like you to kind of come in and out with me. So you're going to take your right arm and sweep it up, and then try to bring your right hand down behind you on your back of your lung space or your heart. And then releasing, bringing it up and connecting. As you do this, try to keep that rib cage in, again, that core connection. So I'm not launching and arching the ribs forward. Good. Now the next time you are there, just hold, and we're going to take the left arm and we're going to do a similar sweep, but it's going to come in towards the body and then down and then up, trying to connect as if you want to touch your hands. Sweep out, down towards the butt, and then up. So we'll end up eventually with our right palm on our back and the back of our left hand on the back. And maybe you can touch and connect, maybe not. Hold, please, for just a moment and breathe. We're going to reach the right elbow back a little more. One more deep breath. And then slowly unwind. And we're going to do the same thing with the other side. We'll come back to this and add a strap. So we're going to take the left arm and sweep it out and up, connecting the left hand with the upper back. And unwinding. If you've got some shoulder history, as you're doing this, notice if there are any places that feel kind of crunchy or even unsafe. You slow down. Notice if this side is different, either in the movement or when you arrive at that final position. And now we'll take the right hand, the lower hand, and sweep it up and under and out. And rotate it and bring it out again. So it's just in a nice range of motion. I'm really, when I'm releasing to the outside, really rotating my right palm a little towards the sky before I rotate it all the way the other direction. When you're ready, last time, connecting both hands to the back and breathe. Trying to work the left elbow behind or in the direction behind you. Keeping those rib cage connected back. And then slowly, slowly unwind. Wow, go ahead and roll the head a little bit. Mine just cracked about 3 times. We forget that our neck tension is not often from the neck so much as all the other muscles up and down, particularly down into that upper back and shoulder area. So if you've got a strap or a scarf or something handy, we're just going to add that to briefly enjoy some depth in the pose. So if the end of your object is in your right hand, take it up and over, let it hang down the back so that you can take your left hand now, placing the back of the hand on your low spine, sliding it up, connecting, clasping, and seeing if you can scooch a little higher up. Maybe your hands can touch, maybe they don't. It doesn't matter, that's why the strap is here. Root and rise, keep that core connected, and we'll take 3 very thoughtful breaths. Find the gap. Is there more? Letting breath massage us. Rearrange our stored tension. One more long inhale. And slowly let your lower hand slide down to release. And you might kind of counter stretch it, rotating the left palm out and up. Good. Switch your strap or scarf to your left hand. Bring it up and behind. And then take the right hand, back of the hand coming onto the low back and sliding up, making contact wherever you can with the strap, maybe hand to hand, it doesn't matter. Root and rise, core connection, 3 breaths with awareness. It's so fun to notice all the subtle sensations that the breath can create in our body if we're simply paying attention. One more long inhale. Is there more? Bring it into the front body, back body, side body, and then slowly, slowly unwinding. Again, you might counter reach that right palm towards the sky or even a little behind. Lovely. Speaking of counter reaches, I think that you'll enjoy our next movement is a bear hug. So you're going to take your right hand and bring it over behind your left shoulder if you can connect, wrap it around. Take your left hand underneath, left arm underneath. That left hand wraps around behind the right shoulder. It's as if you wanted to connect with your shoulder blades and your palms. And we're just going to take a couple of thoughtful breaths here. Again, expanding front and back. Particularly, I hope you'll feel it through your upper back. You might add a little movement of raising the elbows and lowering. We do this sometimes in eagle pose, and it can be a marvelous release of all those tissues that might be holding the blades frozen in place from too much computer work or otherwise. Last time. And release. Awesome. Go ahead and shake it out, move it, whatever feels right. And we're going to join at the front of the mat in our mountain pose. Feet are parallel. I'm going to bring hands to prayer, Anjali Mudra, and very intentionally connect my thumbs at the sternum and heart space. This is a wonderful way of saying, I am here. I'm here in my body, on my mat. This is my practice. Slowly raising that left knee, standing crane. As you do so, maintaining deep anchoring through the whole right foot. Exhaling, slowly step back, crescent lunge. Slowly extend your prayer hands forward, almost like you're sending out an energetic arrow. And then only if it feels good, start to raise those arms up. Maybe raise the heart forward and up, and even the vision. Find your just right spot along the way. Hold. Use that back leg to press back more firmly, to really anchor you. Exhaling, plant the hands and step back downward facing dog. Take as many movements as you need to. Pause here in our first downward facing dog of the day. Pedal it out. Make sure you're anchoring through your entire hand bed, particularly the thumb and index finger pads. You might take those feet out wide, bring them back in, whatever feels juicy. Awesome. And then we're going to lower to our knees. Just drop them right where you can. Relax the feet and relax the pelvis towards the floor, coming in to a knee down, upward facing dog. Shoulder heads anchor. Big inhale. Exhaling, press back child's pose, butt to heels. And again, inhaling, flow forward. Knee down, upward dog. You might take it onto the tops of the feet if you're ready for upward dog. Exhaling, child's pose. If being on your knees and hands and everything is problematic, you might adjust to doing some standing forward fold and then extending up, a little bit of hip pumping. Last one. Using breath and core. One more big inhale. Exhaling, press back. Downward facing dog. Curl the toes under and press the hips up and back. Inhale, exhaling, sigh. Ah. And we're going to step forward, right, and then left. Ragdoll. Knees are bent, let that head hang. Inhaling, root and rise. Drop the butt so that your spine is nice and straight as you press up. And returning prayer hands at the heart. Inhaling, right knee lifts. Yoga toes. Peel those toes open. Exhaling. See where you're reaching back. Imagine your landing place. Steer those hip bones. Right hip bone forward, left back. And then extend your energetic arrow of your arms out in front of you from your heart. Shoulder heads stay anchored. Soft tongue. Slowly, you're reaching back through the right heel and thigh as you're reaching forward through the hands and heart, maybe rising up into a little bit of a back bend. If this bothers your back at all, you can go to a lower position. One more long inhale. Is there more? Exhaling, belly to spine. Plant the hands, downward facing dog. Reduce the swoosh, as I say, try to lift your foot. Inhaling, exhaling, sigh. We're going to bring the right knee forward in pigeon pose, directly behind the right wrist. If you know that this tends to destabilize your low back, you've got some tension in the side joints that it creates, go onto your back body instead. Otherwise, come on down to the forearms here. Wiggle yourself a little side to side. Notice maybe if you want to deepen it, maybe you're not at your edge, use that back foot to kind of pull the body a little further back. If that creates neck tension, go back to where you were. Knee tension. Lowering the head, in fact, so the neck is relaxed. And we're going to do a little bellows breath. So rapid breath in and out through the nose, like this, while supporting your head, either on the floor or on fists, whatever works for you. Continuing. Couple more. I think of this as fluffing up our energetic pillow. So any stress, any stagnation, waking it up, and then big inhale. Exhaling, dump it through the mouth. And observe. How did that feel? Do you feel a little different, perhaps? Coming onto your hands, pause. Again, use that back foot to pull your body a little further back if you can. And then see if you reach forward through the left arm and then even maybe up if that feels good. If it feels pressure in the back, I would keep both hands on the floor and maybe do some nice little spinal twisting side to side. Wherever you are, you're in breath. A nice long inhale and exhaling release. You might go to downward dog and send that right leg flying, or just onto your knee and table and kick that right leg out. And then we're going to bring the left knee behind the left wrist. Always entering with curiosity. We don't know what's in there yet. Slowly coming on down, perhaps just to forearms, or maybe lowering the head to stacked fists or even to the floor. And don't hesitate to make this organic, to move around, to find that best massage for you. And we're going to add our bellows breath. And a big inhale and release through the mouth. Coming slowly on up to your hands. And your option here again to just do some nice little side to side movements or to slowly extend that right arm forward and a little bit up. As you breathe deeply, you might get a deeper stretch through the low right abdomen. When you are complete, please release and step back, either again, table or dog, to kind of give some organic releases to that left leg. I like circling the knee sometimes and also kicking like I'm a donkey kicking down a barn door to get the knee to let go. And we're going to come all the way to our bellies. So however you would like to get there, settling onto your forehead, fingertips tenting in jet airplane. Anchoring through the pelvis is key here. If you're feeling any back tension, check that you can ignite your glutes a little bit more, and generally leave your legs rooted instead of raising them. Over the next 3 breaths, inhale and extending to your version of jet airplane. It might be just the spine, always releasing on the exhale. It might be adding arms or even adding legs. And then invitation to hold in the pose and to reach one arm forward and switch. If you like this feeling in your shoulders of doing more of a windmill motion, take your arms out to the side as you sweep them up. And release. Turn your head to the side You might bend the knees to windshield wiper. And as we press back to child's pose for a moment, please make sure you initiate it with glute squeeze down. That's going to take care of your back. Take the knees nice and wide. Deep belly breath so it moves into your back. Take a nice long inhale, and on your next exhale, create kind of a cat back, belly to spine. And we're going to come onto our knees. We're going to come down to our forearms, recreate that back of the cat back, a nice deep round, tucking the pelvis. Step back 1 foot at a time into your forearm plank. And we'd love to feel really good and strong here, maybe quivering a little bit, that's good. But if your back is bothering you at all, drop your knees again. Otherwise, up on feet, squeeze those inner thighs as if you held a block there. And then adding perhaps just a little shimmy, taking your chest just an inch or two to the right and the left. Nice. And then observe. If you've gone past your edge, you're just surviving it, please come out. But if you're quivering but still have breath, you're great. Let's breathe with awareness one more round. Inhaling, is there more? Exhaling and release. Turn your head to one side. You might add a sigh. And planting your right forearm, reach back through the left hand to the left ankle and just squeeze down through the glute there. Oh yeah. Switch, left hand plants, right ankle gets grasped by the right hand and we squeeze down through the glute. And if your back is feeling up to it, you're going to clasp one ankle and then the other, squeezing down through the glutes, anchoring through the pelvis so that you don't feel any back discomfort at all. Inhaling, press the ankles back into the hands. Observe here how breath is kind of shortened. It's impacted by the fact that we're on our abdomen. So we've got to be willful. Can you find breath space somewhere new? Maybe into your sides of your ribs. One last time. And release. Keep the glutes squeezed as you press back either child's pose or downward facing dog. Inhaling, exhaling, sigh. What's your heart rate like? What's your temperature like? Slowly walking the hands back to the feet, forward fold, ragdoll. Deep, deep breath. Send it into a big Buddha belly. Get it to register into your lower back. Inhaling, plant the hands on the shins and extend halfway up. Exhaling, drop the butt to chair. Reminder, you can be at any height in chair. Feel free to explore, right? You don't have to commit. On a long inhale, root and rise, sweep up. Big glute squeeze. And prayer hands. So I'm going to take us forward into our crescent lunge, and it's a balance challenge. It's great core strength. If you've got anything going on in ankles or knees, and this just feels too much, start from the front, okay? We'll all be having our right leg at the front of the mat. So we're going to lift our right knee here, standing crane. We're at the back of our mat. And I want you to take all the time in the world exploring as you are reaching forward through that right foot. How much can you draw back through your core body? Let your neck be soft. This is just a fun dance. And how lightly can you land? Maybe fall over. If so, I hope it makes you giggle. Draw that right hip bone back, left hip bone forward. Now we're going to take the arms straight down and slowly begin slicing as I think of it. So slowly reaching right arm up, then left. Slow, deep and wide with your breath. and pause. I'm going to have you take your arms up now in a V, and ever so slowly and ever so slightly, just bend to the right and bend to the left. It's a balance challenge. It's also working our core, but if you go too far, it's going to make your back a little unhappy. So just subtle movements. Lovely. Opening up Virabhadrasana 2. Pause in the beginning of your pose to really check what's your perfect lunge today. And I don't mean about perfection, I mean it feels great, right? Find that right depth. And we're going to do an inhaling, reaching up through the right arm. You can keep that front knee bent if you'd like, or straighten it. You can go back and forth. I'm going to have you take your left arm around behind in a partial bind. So you're wrapping it around so that the back of the hand lands on your low back, and you might even be able to kind of be touching your right waistline. Connect your core back towards your forearm. So you're almost using it as an anchoring device. If your neck feels tension when you look up, always take it more neutral. One more long inhale, rising up. Exhaling, we're going to unwind and kind of cartwheel it to plant the hands on the floor and come onto the ball of the back foot. Now, if what we're about to do does not feel great for you, I'm going to encourage you to return to your ottoman or chair and repeat that lunging that we did. So if you're feeling any pain in the back, please do that. Otherwise, walk your right foot a little right so that you've got room to explore and see, can you come down to your left forearm? If not, don't worry, and if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. But if you can, stay at the edge, whatever you found, and breathe. I'm letting the earth push my right knee towards the sky. And you could be doing something similar with your object of support, right? You're sending your hands onto that object, ottoman or chair, bringing that left forearm down and letting that knee be directed behind to open up the hip and low back. Send one more deep breath into the pelvis. Good. Bring both hands to the mat again, and with core support, reduce the swoosh, step back, downward facing dog. Inhaling, exhaling, sigh. I'm going to invite us to move into a little dog series. If you know that's just not what your body's needing right in this moment, consider doing some more forearm plank or just some nice knee down pumping like we did earlier of upward dog or cobra to child's. Otherwise, on a long inhale, flow forward to your version of plank. Knees down is a great place to start. Exhaling, slow, low chaturanga. So you're bending the elbows in. You might only go an inch. Maybe you hold even with the elbows. And then drop for cobra, pelvis anchors, or scooping to your upward facing dog. Exhaling, breath takes you back, downward facing dog. Inhaling, exhaling, sigh. See if you can really press your hips up and back, working the heels towards the floor. And then a very slow walking the hands towards the feet. Really pushing and elongating. This is marvelous for the shoulders. And forward fold. Deep belly breath. On your next inhale, extending up halfway. Is there more? Exhaling. Drop the butt to chair. If you'd like a little extra balance challenge, you could come under the balls of the feet. Breathing. Inhale, root and rise. Notice as your palms come together, energy centers, and bring it to the heart space. Tune into your breath. What do you notice about your heart rate, your temperature? What muscles are speaking to you? into our lunge on the other side. Standing crane, left knee lifts. Again, if this doesn't work well for your body, start from the front of the mat. Slowly enjoy the journey, drawing back, reaching forward, quiet landing, maybe. Hip bones steer, left back, right forward. You should feel how strong and supported this makes you. You might even be able to hop and feel very connected in that inner thigh. All right, we're gonna do our little slicing here. And as you're doing this, again, it's slow, and what I want to feel is that my rib cage is staying directed into my back, while I try to invite each arm to move a little behind the ear. It doesn't matter if it ever gets there. And if this is too intense on thighs, you could be doing this in mountain pose. And a couple more. Deep breath. Soften the neck. Reminder that the arms don't have to be right in by the ears. They could be out in more of a V if you're experiencing any challenges. And then pause. Bring both of them up in a V. And slowly going right and left. You could also have them in more of like a goal post, whatever feels useful to you. Breathing. When we breathe, the body knows we are well, we are whole, we're safe. Yeah, we might be working kind of hard, but we're doing it for fun and love of yoga, of wholeness, of this amazing body we're in. And opening to your Virabhadrasana 2. Plant that back foot. Again, spend those first few moments exploring. We're asking a lot of our thighs tonight, both releasing but also working them. So see what they need. What's your right lunge distance of your feet? You might open your palms, platter hands. This left hand is our receiving hand. So if there's any particular form of support or blessing or inspiration that you want to call in, you might even just see that word kind of flash across your mind's eye as you breathe it in. Invitation to straighten that front leg as you reach up, unless you want more thigh work. Take that right arm around in a partial bind, so the back of the hand is on my low back. And again, the head, neck is wherever it's most easeful. Always give it room on the inhale. Exhaling, root and reach. If you feel compressed in that right waistline, you're doing more bending towards the back of the mat than you are reaching forward through the ribs and waist, which is what we'd like. One more long inhale. It's as if you wanted to reach something just beyond your fingers. Exhaling, belly to spine, slowly unwind, cartwheel. Come onto the ball of the back foot. Plant your hands. Walk that left foot a little further left for a little more space. This is where you'd go to the chair or ottoman again if this is just not feeling great on your back. It feels really good in that other position, I'll tell you. See if you can come down to your right forearm. Sometimes we can also come to the left. What I notice is even when I can, it actually creates tension instead of releases it. So find the place that may be intense, but right here, right now, you can send in a breath and tell that area of the hips, pelvis, thighs to melt. When you feel completely, come back up to hands and slowly release back, downward facing dog. Inhaling, exhaling, sigh. And notice what would feel just perfect in this moment for your practice. Would you like to go into child's pose? If you'd like dog series flow, then feel free to follow me. Inhaling to your plank. Perhaps on knees again, or maybe you're ready for the feet. Make sure you've got full weight in your full palm. On an exhale, slow, low push-up, bending the elbows. It's as if you wanted to kiss the earth. And then scooping to your upward facing dog. Keep that vision neutral, never cranking on the neck. Exhaling, press back, downward facing dog. Slowly walking the hands back to the feet. Inhale, root and rise. And exhaling, prayer hands at the heart. Tune into your breath. And if you're having any thoughts about your practice, if there are parts that you aren't doing or you're adjusting and you've got a critical mind about that, I love to say, don't believe everything you think. It's my favorite bumper sticker. So know that if you're honoring your body, you are having the perfect practice. If you're striving or pushing, it's a form of harm. It's a form of violence. We're going to play further with our shoulder stretching and releasing. Again, awesome stuff for our shoulders, but if you have something that's feeling a little bit tweaky or that you need to be protective of, instead of doing eagle arms, which is what we're going to play with, you might return to just a classic thread the needle kind of arm across, or if you liked the bear hug, that would be another nice alternative. Otherwise, we're going to play with taking one arm up and over. So I'm going to take my right arm, cross it up and over my left arm, and I'm going to try and get it as high up above the elbow as I can. And then I'm going to try and wrap around. I'm kind of bringing the backs of the hands towards each other and then seeing if I can kind of slice until I can hook my left fingers on the root of my right palm. So if it feels a little like adult twister, you're right. And the gift of this, if it's not, again, hurting you or bothering you, is to take a breath into the upper back. See if you can think about flaring that space between the shoulder blades like butterfly wings. You can also play with that movement of the elbows up and down that we did in bear hug. And when you are complete, a slow, fluid unwinding. And again, any little wiggles, counter movements can be really nice, just rotating the palms forward and back. And let's do the other side. We're going to take the left arm up and over the right. So sometimes I'll kind of swing them in and out a little bit, but we did some nice warming earlier. And then I'm going to bring my fingers facing towards the sky. Backs of the hands are kind of facing each other, but then I'm going to try and slice it so I'm now getting my right fingers to hook into my left palm there. So I've kind of got a hook on the pad of my left finger, thumb pad. So I find it really interesting in this pose, if I look at my hands, to notice I'm almost unsure which hand is which. It's kind of a strange feeling. Breathing, again, you might be putting the elbows up and down, but mostly you're focusing breath into that beautiful space between the shoulder blades. We forget that our lungs are in our back body. They're not just in the front. They go all the way around. And slowly, lovingly unwinding. And also love up those wrists. Maybe give it a little shake out. I'm going to have you take your left hand on your right forearm a moment, and you're just kind of grabbing right kind of below the elbow towards the hand. I'm just sort of putting a little C-clamp on it. And I'm just going to rotate my right hand like I'm turning a big doorknob. And I want you to notice how much movement is in that upper forearm near the elbow. If we're doing a lot of computer work or gripping of any kind, even kind of repetitive finger work, this part of the body can really take on some stress. So you can then take your left hand and just sort of knead that area right below the elbow and even around the elbow and up above if you'd like. Nice. Shake that, let it drain right out. And we'll go to the other side. Putting your little C-clamp on the forearm just below the elbow and kind of rotating your left hand like you're turning a big doorknob, and also rotating the hand so you're getting a nice wrist roll. Yeah. Interestingly, this part of the body often also really impacts the side of the neck there, the sternocleidomastoid, where a lot of us are really, really tight. So it's kind of a nice way to help that area out too. And when you're ready, rub around the elbow, up above. Again, you can do some nice massaging wherever you're called to. Last arm position here. Go ahead and bring one forearm behind you and then the other, you're clasping around opposite forearms essentially. There is a further version of this pose that yogis sometimes practice that I don't generally because it often really aggravates pulls up into my elbow. But if you want to try it, it's bringing your fingertips together and then trying to scooch them up until there's a connection between the palms. Now, if you can't get the palms connected, like mine, but it feels good, feel free to maintain that for a few moments. Otherwise, if you're feeling any kind of icky pull, please let it go. Otherwise, holding those forearms. And we're going to take this into this alignment into another little flow. So you'll let your arms come apart for now, but you're going to find your way into that pose again. So returning to the front of the mat, starting in mountain with jet airplane arms. And I want to now squeeze that area that we were massaging with breath in between the shoulder blades and kind of get a shoulder blade sandwich as you anchor your upper arms in towards your ribs. In order to get deep breath, you'll have to allow the arms to move as the rib cage expands. Great. This should be organic. On the next inhale, sweeping the arms out and up, and then exhaling out and down and behind into that little forearm cross. Connect your rib cage back into that area. Left knee lifts, standing crane. Pause, notice. Maybe you can briefly extend that left leg through the heel powerfully. It doesn't have to be high, it could be down low. And slowly reach back, but don't land yet. I want you to pause, reaching back. It's basically like a standing jet airplane here. It's just balancing on that right leg. Again, you don't have to be parallel to the floor. You could be at just a little bit of an angle, flexing firmly through the heel. So we've got a little challenge here that our arms aren't available to help us balance. At any point, if you'd like to, you can release them into those jet airplane arms. And slowly touch that left foot down, either crescent lunge or warrior one. Release the arms and sweep up. Raise that heart if you can. Again, if this bothers your back, your neck, stay much more neutral, working engagement. We're going to come into a spinal twist. And if you are feeling comfortable on your feet and you want to do kind of a lot more leg work, then you might just stay up here, come onto the ball of the back foot. Otherwise, lower onto your knee. We're going to slowly take that left elbow across right thigh. The right hand's on the right hip, and this might be your position. It's a great position, and I'd rather have us be here and really enjoy the twist. Big inhale. Exhale, belly to spine, and see if you can open your chest and belly more to the right. If it feels appropriate, add your prayer hands. That's the name of this full twist, is prayer twist. Again, if you're up on your feet, it's more of a balance challenge, a lot more leg work, and you'd come down to that knee. Last inhale, exhale, rotating open and releasing. Plant the hands, step back, downward facing dog. Inhaling, exhaling, sigh. If you're craving dog series flow, you're of course welcome to go there. You can also go into child's pose. We're going to make our journey to the front of the mat. So within the next few breaths, please join me there. You might step one leg forward at a time or jump. And we'll all meet in our mountain stance. Arms down in jet airplane. In jet airplane here, my hope is that you feel a deep enlivenment of the back body. Don't press forward through the chest or rib cage to create that squeeze. Make sure that you're continuing to kind of tuck the tailbone. Neck is soft, tongue and gaze are soft. Ujjayi, a great way to center yourself in breath, especially if you're feeling a little fatigued, right? We've had some intense muscular work here, some good little bit of cardio. Don't go unconscious now. Really use your Ujjayi to stay present. And you can just hold this pose for the rest of practice if you'd like. Otherwise, inhaling, sweeping up. Exhaling, sweeping down and wrapping the hands around the opposite forearm behind. Again, unless that does not work for you, you're in jet airplane arms. We're going to lift the right knee, standing crane. I've got my left knee a little bit bent. Again, I'm nicely supported, belly into spine. Heart is open. And pushing forward through that right heel, really igniting the right thigh. And then pause as you begin to extend back. It's really important that we are staying straight from heel to crown. So even if we don't go very far, we're in that beautiful straight alignment. Maybe you can get your body parallel with the mat, maybe not. I always have to remind my neck to extend. There's a habit in this pose of wanting to kind of look forward. See if you can look down at the end of the mat. And releasing those jet airplane arms. And slowly planting that back foot. And you might stay on the ball of the back foot or coming down to the right knee. Whichever version you're in, the key that ignites this pose is the big inhale, the exhale, the rounding of the belly into the spine, our cat back, if you will, before we cross that right elbow to left thigh. If you're in knee down, try not to have the hips directly above the knee, but lunged forward, much like you did at the start of our practice. And slowly rotating, deepening with each exhale. Inhaling, you give it room. Exhaling, rotate. Last breath. Make that last inhale really greedy. Massage your whole torso. And release. Step back. Downward facing dog. And I'm going to slowly walk my hands back to my feet for a final release of the back of the legs, a final decompression of the spine. But please notice what you might be craving. Maybe there's some part of your body that's speaking to you and asking you to go into a particular shape. Over the next few moments, we're going to come onto our backs and we're going to place the block under the sacral triangle, right at the top of the crack of the butt. So we do not want the block in the low back. We're going to be placing it so that the low vertebrae are not touching the back at all. If this just feels too kind of hard, you might use a rolled up blanket or something instead, but it does help to have something rather flat. When you are ready for that exploration, come on down, lift the hips. So you plant the hands like feet like you would in bridge, and then lift the hips to place the block with your hands right under that sacral triangle. And as you give your weight initially, just check in. Does it feel good? Do you feel anything kind of pinching? Observe. If you feel anything even lightly going into protection, this is not the pose for tonight. Right? Or at least we need to find a different version where the body can just drape. This should feel like a wonderful letting go. You might explore extending your legs. If you're doing so, they're just relaxed. There's no effort in this pose. We're not trying to keep our feet upright. It's just relaxed. You might find it easeful on your neck to kind of work your shoulder heads a little underneath you. And you can just have the arms laying out by your side or on your belly and taking some few breaths. If you feel that your pelvis is kind of tilting forward and down off the block, usually just shifting the block a little further down towards the feet resolves the problem. I appreciate this pose for so many reasons. Its restorative qualities are magnificent. You can feel that it gives us the opposite shape of sitting and so much of what we do in daily life. But it also allows you, as you're breathing there deeply, to ignite a stretch into the low abdomen, the psoas area, that is often associated with back discomfort or pain. So if you're still comfortable here, and if you're not, come off, of course, but send breath into that space. Maybe take your hands there as well. When we're first beginning our journey of becoming better observers of our body, it really helps to take our touch to those places and say, hey, what's going on in there? How can I help? When you do come off the object of support, recommend always bending the knees to lift the hips again, then remove the block, then hug knees into belly, and you might rock a little side to side. You can kind of circle the knees, so sort of bringing them in a little more tightly to your chest and then a little bit away. This is a great opportunity to notice what's in there. So we're going to come into abdominal pumping, and this can be done with your knees bent, or you might just lay flat. This will make any meal that you have afterwards just much more delicious. If this is a challenging thing for you to get your abdominal area to move, if you tend to be kind of frozen in that area or stiff, you might place your hands there as a reference point, otherwise wherever it's comfortable. Gather a long inhale as if it's all you'd ever do. Exhale, empty and feel that you've gotten it all out, then hold out. With the breath held out, draw your belly in like you're saying, see how skinny I am, and then push your belly out towards the sky, big Buddha belly. Until you need to breathe. You might feel like a sighing breath. Sometimes people feel an emotion rising up. Sometimes they feel like crying or giggling. Whatever's there, just notice. Take a little inventory. Let's do 2 more rounds. Inhale, slow, deep and wide. Exhaling, empty completely. Hold out, external breath lock, and begin your pumping. You can slow and speed the pumping. One of my favorite techniques is to draw in, pause, and to try to draw in a little more, like I'm trying to bring my stomach up under my rib cage. You might even get a stretch up into the clavicle or throat area. Could make you cough. It's a great sign that you really massaged that internal space. Take a breath when you need to. You can take 2 or 3. And then as you're ready, please come into your final round of abdominal pumping. Always initiating with a gathering of breath, a complete emptying, and a hold out. This is, of course, our physical center, the kind of strength and hub of our wheel. It's also our digestive center, where we now know that a lot of our immune system resides. And for many of us, our emotions land here if we have stress of any kind. So know that you're doing a very loving act, and notice if this feels really good. Just adding this to your morning regimen could be a really great game changer of how you go about your day. When that last one is complete, sigh, do whatever feels right. You could bring knees to belly again, and then inviting you to find your final posture. If it's corpse pose on your back, You might come into seated for a seated meditation if you'd like. Either way, let the earth anchor you. And begin to scan your body. Take your attention from head to feet. You're doing an inventory of what's there, what your yoga practice has created. And if there's any inspiration from the body of what is needed, what would make for more wholeness, more ease, more yum. As you're scanning your body, if you witness any areas of tension or discomfort, you might try and move them. You might take your loving touch there. Regardless, send breath there. And again, observation, inquiry. What's going on? What's that about? And you might let your attention drift into an almost yogic sleep, a state of non-attention. In these moments of softness, prana, healing life force can move into our entire system. So let yourself sink more deeply with each exhale, down and down and down. I hope that indeed you found a very quiet mental space. Yoga is so good for that. If so, you might want to remain here for a few more minutes of deep rest, restorative yogic sleep as we think of it. If your mind is pretty busy, I ask you to just notice what it's busy about. Again, in this way, we get to know ourselves. There's nothing wrong with anything we find in there. It's becoming more intimate. Please, before you head into life off of the yoga mat, take this moment to bring your hands to prayer once more. You might give them a vigorous rub. And please salute your own good heart, your wise body, and thank yourself for getting to the yoga mat today. I'll be closing with 3 ohms. Delighted to have you join in if you wish. Gathering a long inhale, asking, is there more? That last Om, you might decide to take the gifts of our practice deeper into your own body and then also send them out to anyone or even whole communities that you'd like to offer your practice to. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Namaste.